Welcome to the 20th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. Between them, they've covered Penn State football for 70 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Alex Colley, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solani provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go, Penn State! By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to the NitWits post-Fiesta Bowl wrap show. We are here to break down the Nittany Lions' 35-28 win over the Washington Huskies. To do that, it is the usual suspects, Neil Rudell, the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, and welcoming back to the guest chair, we've got Keith Goon-Conlon. Thanks for coming back.
Good to be back, guys. How are you?
Is that who that is? I didn't recognize him with the...
That's this side of the set.
He's in the witness protection program.
It's my Neil Rudell. No one will know who I am, so I'm good to go.
All right, we're going to start where we usually do. What stood out to you guys in this win?
Well, to me, Trace McSorley. I mean, this kid has been nothing short of amazing for 3 years. I mean, you go back to his first extended action against Georgia in the TaxSlayer Bowl, and he's been bringing them back and playing with as much heart as anybody that we really ever seen play there. His clutch gene is off the chart. On third down, was he 12 for 12? He just makes every clutch play decision, whether it's passing, running, phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, the thing that stood out to me was the offensive line. I went into that game saying the offensive line did not need to dominate. It needed to hold its own against what was probably the best defensive front, or one of the best defensive fronts you thought it was going to see. And obviously Trace McSorley's the star of the game, but I think they gave him enough time that he was able to do what he needed to do, and also opened up a lot of holes for the running game. It wasn't a dominant effort by the O-line, but after some of the games we saw where they really struggled, for them to come together in that sort of game on that stage, I just thought that was big, and it was a good sign moving forward after some of the struggles they had this year.
Absolutely. I'm 100% behind Mark here with the offensive line. I mean, they were the key to the game, in my opinion, having to control Washington's defensive front. And there were some big boys out there, and they controlled them pretty good. Did you see the one big guy made the tackle on the punt return? I could not believe I saw that guy do that. But they held that guy in check most of the game. I mean, they did a great job up front. Pass protection, running the ball. I mean, everything, except for a couple bad shovel passes and stuff. I thought the offensive line played a great game.
Yeah, and that also speaks to the job Ricky did coming in, and how seamless was that. Of course, there were a couple plays, and the other thing I liked is he took complete blame for any of the mistakes after the game. I mean, he was like, Trace threw a couple of picks, which both of them, one was a fantastic play and one was just dumb luck. But for him to come in with that spotlight on him, he said after the game he didn't care about the spotlight or whatever, but he knew. And you got the sense the players knew too. And for them to play that well offensively after there was so much made of losing Joe Moorhead, I thought that was a good sign for Ricky Ronnie.
Yeah, and the fact you referenced that what he said after the game, that is just so refreshing, I think, from when you get into the Big Six games and the college football playoffs, and this is a media perspective, but the access, the ability for him to be in the center of a locker room and take ownership, and all these other kids that are getting, on their turf to be able to, take comment and things like that. I know that strays a little bit from the storyline. He did a great job. The offensive line, they ended the game much better than this was their Achilles heel against Ohio State, Michigan State. Not being able to put games away has been a problem these last couple of years, and to see that corrected and returning everybody but Brandon Mann, and Mann was kind of kidding. If he wouldn't have jumped off sides, they may have been able to end the game with a knee, and then they still had to make a different play there. But going forward, it should be good.
Say overall, looking at the big picture, how did the execution of Penn State's offense match up with your expectation for it?
Well, the one thing I liked was the fact that, first of all, I thought when you talk about going back to Neil's original point, when you have McSorley running that thing, it's just, he was nearly flawless. Even like I said, even the mistakes he made. But I also liked some of the other things they did. Rotating in Miles Sanders, didn't that seem to keep Saquon fresher? And I know part of that was probably they didn't want to get Saquon hurt for obvious reasons. But, I don't know that they could have executed much better than they did outside of a couple of the mistakes. And a lot of that does go back to Trace McSorley and how well he plays under pressure.
We talked about the offense. What about the job the Penn State defense did against this Pac-12 offense?
I love the pressure they put on the quarterback on him just constantly. He was back there running for his life, and it makes your defensive backs and linebackers, your coverage is a lot easier when you can put that kind of pressure on a quarterback that fast.
Well, just expanding on the Barkley point, I can't give them enough credit on how they handled the entire Barkley situation really all year. And you look at, obviously we all knew he was going to leave, but the fact that the kid decides to play in the bowl game, very decisive about it, the way they used Sanders, and, Barkley was still in there when he needed to be, when the game was, when at times there were times, you could put Sanders in there, they had, kind of a lead, but, I just think that it really speaks well going with the recruiting of how they handled this star athlete and how it worked out for everybody.
Well, it wasn't just Saquon, too. And that was the thing. It didn't dawn on me until after the game when I was going around asking some of the seniors where they're going to go. You look at some of these other bowl games, and there were teams that had 3-4 guys sitting out. Mike Gesicki did not have to play in that game. Marcus Allen did not have to play in that game. You know what? They did. And you never got the sense that they were not going to play. And I think that speaks to the kind of camaraderie that they've developed. The reason that Saquon and Gesicki and Allen and whoever else I'm missing played was because they cared about their teammates and they believed what they put together here was something special. None of them had to play. They all risked injuries. These guys are all going to be draft picks.
Not only played, but played well.
Right.
They didn't, they weren't skittish out there. They weren't like, hey, let's try and keep me out. I'm not going to play as hard as I possibly can. I got to worry about my future. Those guys balled. They played hard the whole game.
And doesn't that speak to the team building that Franklin
Absolutely.
is doing? The relationship, he's a player's coach. Yeah. You can see that. But the relationship that is all through the team that we haven't always seen before. And I think that when you talk about the elite coaches in the country right now, he's on that list.
And Gesicki, Allen, and Christian Campbell not done with that Penn State helmet just yet. They'll be in the Senior Bowl later this month. Well, it's time for our first time out here, but when we return, it's time to look back on Saquon Barkley's swan song, which was the Fiesta Bowl. We'll be right back.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name.
Hi, I'm Lindsay from Shamokin, Pennsylvania, and you're watching the NitWits.
Nice.
There you go. So getting the fans involved. Welcome back. Saquon Barkley's swan song to Penn State was a 2-touchdown, 137-yard performance. He got the question all week long about his future. How do you think he handled this entire situation?
Oh, tremendous. I mean, he set the model, and Penn State set the model, because I think we are in a trend now of guys that are going to at least consider not playing in bowl games who maybe not at this this type of a stage. If you're in the Outback Bowl, we don't know what would have happened there. But I think the way that this all was handled, and I think there was a lot of communication behind the scenes of what was going to be said and what message was going to be out there, and I think it was well done.
Well, I mean, the kid's been nothing but a complete class act. I mean, the only beef that we would have is another announcement on New Year's Eve. We've had too many of these, but fortunately, this was more of
that's a separate show.
Yeah, this is more of a positive one, because I think everybody's wishing him well and where he's going to go, and wherever he's going to go and what he's going to do. But yeah, I mean, this was not a distraction during the season. Even toward the end of the season, when I think James Franklin was like, "I wish people wouldn't ask this," I thought Barkley handled it magnificently, and this is going to be fun at this point to go from being somebody who covered Saquon Barkley to becoming a Saquon Barkley fan, because no matter where he goes, I mean, I'm going to just have a blast watching him and just wish him nothing but the best of luck.
He's been that way his whole career. He's handled his whole career the way a player should handle it, and with class, dignity, always playing hard, always playing tough. You wouldn't expect anything else out of him, and then that playing the game and playing the game the way he did. I watched, you guys were out covering the game. I was back in State College, but I watched a lot of the bowl games, and it's interesting to see how like some teams and some people handle it. I'm watching the Michigan game on New Year's Day. Or I'm sorry, the second, I guess you would say. And their defensive lineman, they made a point of it, and they said, because Jake Butt was the guy who blew his knee out last year or 2 years ago,
right?
And they actually, he came back and talked to the seniors and said, I wouldn't change a thing. And I was like, that's a pretty good thing, because the whole stopping and not playing before a bowl game, it's like, why are you playing before Thanksgiving? Why are you playing
where does it end?
Where does it end? It's like, well, we lost 2 games. I mean, we're out of the conference, we're out of our title run, so why do I want to play the rest of the year? And the way Barkley handled it, and he got out in front of it. And Franklin got him out in front of it and said, hey, he's playing, he's going to play hard, he's going to do this. And, we are never going to see a person of Saquon Barkley's, like, his personality and how he is as a person and how he is as a football player in Penn State. I mean, it was unbelievable what a great kid that guy is.
Well, Jake Butt, I mean, the Michigan should have talked him into staying for one more game, because, man, could they have used him. They laid an egg.
What's your feeling, buddy? I'm telling you, I'm halfway. I watched it. I was like, I wanted to go 8-0, but I was like, still Michigan, though. I still have there's that little angst, and I was like, if it was going to happen to anybody, I would have. I love the fact that it happened to Jimmy Harbaugh.
Gone off the rail.
Keith, I'm curious.
What we do?
Your perspective as a former NFL player, and here's Barkley now. Penn State hasn't had the greatest luck with their decorated running backs that have gone into the league. What do you see?
Well, I think that the best article I ever saw was they had like top 10 draft bust on the NFL Network one time.
Yeah.
I think one of the quotes was, I think it just proved pretty clear that Penn State has some pretty good offensive linemen in there. So I always say that. So I've said it for a year now. I think that, and then, I kid with Kijana about it. I talked to Kijana a lot, and he's on board. I mean, Saquon Barkley is the best football player, the best running back in the history of Penn State. And that's all-around football player. Pass blocking, catching, running the ball, everything. He had everything. Where do I see that transition in the NFL? I mean, if he can stay healthy, that's the problem. Kijana never stayed healthy. He blew his knee out second carry of his career. What could have been type of thing. I think Saquon is one of those generational players. And, whoever gets him in the NFL, I mean, people say they don't want him to go to Cleveland, they don't want him to go to New York. I think he's going to be fine wherever he goes.
Well, the other thing I liked about him, by the way, and I wanted to go back to the game for a second, our lasting memory of him now isn't going to be of skipping a game. It's going to be of running for this 92-yard touchdown. And as we were talking at the break, the Goon was saying the Washington fans kind of couldn't believe it. And I also thought, is there a better form of flattery? Myles Gaskin has like an 8 or 9 yard touchdown run and starts trying to mock Saquon with this thing. It's like, how far are you into somebody's head when they pull that stuff? Yeah. So Saquon, the thing about his celebrations, I never got those as being, I think he was just having fun. I don't think he wasn't this, or it wasn't belittling anybody. He was just having fun.
And I don't think it was at the expense of the other guy. It
Right,
wasn't
right.
standing over people. Yeah. I agree with that. And, hey, 54 catches, though. And the blocking that you touched on. I mean, you could see how he would be willing and very effective at picking up the blitz. So the NFL is going to get a complete player.
As for looking forward, heard a lot about Journey Brown. Obviously, Miles Sanders seen flashes of him. What do you think?
Yeah, well, Miles Sanders, that was another great thing about him getting all those carries. Now, all of a sudden, you have a guy who's going into next year having played. He's played in big games before, but he got a bunch of carries in this game, was able to score a touchdown. Don't forget about Ricky Slade. I think this is going to be more about a running back by committee next year, and that's not a knock on Miles Sanders, but I think you're going to have different backs who are capable of doing some different things. Ricky Slade, a freshman who's coming in this summer, a smaller scat back type. So I think there's going to be a little bit more of running back by committee. We're showing Mark Allen there. I'm not sure where he quite fits in, but you're not going to have one guy getting 250 carries next year. I think it's going to be more spread out.
All right, well, it's halftime here, but when we return, we'll nitpick the Fiesta Bowl. The NitWits will be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Monarch Cleaners for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solaney Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State. By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
Hi, this is Lisa Hummel from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and I'm live at the Fiesta Bowl, and you're watching NitWits.
I didn't even know Stacy was out there.
Alex and Jamie were grinding out at the Fiesta Bowl like 6 days before Neil showed up. I can tell you that much.
I think we'd all like to be in Arizona right about now. But
Take that up with Phil Dubrow.
yeah.
Don't blame me.
Well, Penn State's 7th Fiesta Bowl win was hardly perfect. In fact, some fans said they were having a feeling of deja vu there late in the 4th when Washington pulled within 7. So what had you shaking your head in this one?
You're struggling for a negative thing? I can't believe it.
Well, there weren't that many negatives. But just to do the segment, I give James Franklin credit for you've had suspensions now a couple bowl games in a row. You had Bowen, you had Blacknall last year. I don't know if you count Bowen again this year. You had Charles. So, hey, I give him a lot of credit for drawing a line in the sand and trying to establish the discipline that needs to be kids held to that standard. That said, I don't know what's all going on, whether they're academic or other violation of team rules, but this, you hope that they can get their arms around this. It's a problem.
Well, I mean, it's a big difference, though, Neil, than what we were dealing with later in Joe's career, frankly, when there were a lot of off-the-field legal issues that they were dealing with. So that, to me, isn't as big of a deal. You have that many kids, so long as you're taking the steps to address it, I'm fine with it. To me, talking about the game, I think the next step in the development of this program is when you get the leads in these games to be able to put people away. And having said that, I'll be the first person to say you have to give Washington a lot of credit. Those kids played with heart. They were tough. They were clearly overmatched, in my view. Penn State had too much talent, too big, too fast, but they played hard. They're a well-coached team. But the next step in the development of this program is when you get these big leads against these good teams to be able to put the team away, and I think that's going to be one of the keys.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that mentality, the foot on the throat. You get your foot on the throat, you got to keep it there. You can't let them off the ground. But like Mark said, you got to give Washington a lot of credit. I mean, the Pac-10 did not have a good showing in bowls this year. The Big Ten had an absolutely great showing in bowl games. So it was one of those, where the programs are at, and you got to give Washington credit. They fought, they played. Peterson's a heck of a coach out there. He's got those guys going. They have a great program. They always have. I've always liked Washington. Everybody's always liked Washington, in my opinion. But they played hard. They're well coached. I mean, it's like it's almost like they're a year behind Penn State and a year or two behind where Penn State was, and where we're going right now. And that is, like Mark said, we do need to put teams out of their misery a lot faster and put our fans the heartburn for the fans, and worrying about late games and late in the game. And
great for TV ratings, though.
It is. I mean, that was definitely one of the best bowl games out there this year.
I just didn't get the sense that Penn State was that much better that you were going to expect Washington not to really respond. And it was just really that one big run, and that was a problem. And, again, you're dealing with moving parts on defense. I thought their defense played, about as well as I would have expected it to play, except for that run. And you had the trick play that Washington capitalized on.
Hey, quickly on a positive note, Phil Galliano and the job the special teams did overall was terrific, especially without Irv Charles. I mean, there was basically no damage done in the return game. The one issue, though, I mean, hard to wrap my head around what happened with Tyler Davis. I mean, he did a really nice job on kickoffs, but misses another field goal. It's incredible to think that Penn State went 11-2, right, with a kicker who made half of his field goals, and they wouldn't even try long ones toward the end. I'm not sure what happened with this kid. He was a great player for Penn State for a year and a half. Did well on kickoffs. I hope he gets a chance at some other level. I don't know that he will, but that was tough to see.
All right, we're taking our final timeout. When we return, we're going to put a bow on season 20 of the Nitwits. We'll be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot, or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Jamie, I'm from New York and I'm at the Fiesta Bowl and you're watching the NitWits.
Well, welcome back. This past week, Nittany Nation lost Jim Tarman, longtime Penn State employee, as well as former athletic director, responsible for bringing Penn State into the Big Ten. Obviously, you know how important he was.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to expand the stadium so many times because of the success, the high level, the championship level that Joe Paterno presided over. But people like Jim Tarman, Fran Fisher, Dave Baker, John Morris, Bud Meredith, Bud Tallman, these are the guys that really put the infrastructure in place and propped up Joe for so much success.
Yeah, and we were lucky to spend a lot of Friday nights hanging out with those guys where we would sit back and basically listen, and it's tough to see us losing so many of them.
All right, and that's season 20 of the Nitwits.
Yeah, hey, real quick, I got some notes here. Brennan made fun of me when I had my glasses, so I didn't bring them in this time. But I want to thank everybody. We've had a great show this year. A great season helps. But Mike Irwin and Joe Nastasi were both here 4 times. Goon, appreciate you, your return. Wally Richardson, Bill Contz, Massimo Manca. We dusted off a couple new Nitwits this year. Brandon Noble, Lou Prado, and Sandy Barber, and of course Alex, you and Jamie. And this man, we've done it 20 years together. He's missed one show. We've both only missed one show, and that was when you went to
Ireland.
Ireland and couldn't get back, so we'll have to talk about your travel. But special thanks to the partnership with THA and the Mirror, and of course Chris Owen. So thanks everybody so much.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us all season. We'll see you next year.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solani provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go, Penn State! By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot, or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By easytouse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.